passe. Super, l'artiste. Super, encore un but sensationnel. That's a brilliant bit of follow-up play by Mahe. Oh my goodness me, what a shot.
Sagosen setter det hen! Han setter den! Vi i semifinale igjen!
For the first time in a few years, we're doing our first proper Bundesliga podcast of the season. Before the Bundesliga begins, it's a Wednesday afternoon as we record. The action begins on Thursday evening with a couple of matches, the new Opel Handball Bundesliga season. And we got two of the best in the business joining us to chat about it. From the Dritte Halbzeit podcast is Tim Dettmar, and the man who needs really no introduction at this stage, Björn Pazen. Björn, Tim, lovely to have you on with us, and the first time together with us on the podcast.
Hello, guys. Very special. Always great to hear Björn talk about handball, and always great to talk with him about handball. So lovely that you guys brought us together here.
Thank you from my side too. I think we worked together 8 years ago for DHB in certain things. So it's always good to see some well-known faces, also if it's a podcast, so you don't see us.
Oh, it's a great combination of people. It's a great new season. The excitement is palpable. So I think we'll just take the time today, go through some of the big teams one by one, talk about the changes, talk about the upcoming season, and of course we'll do a few predictions. As always, we haven't warned Tim or Bjorn about any predictions, but they are experienced pundits who will react to anything. But maybe speaking of changes, I think at the start of every season, the most interesting thing that people are looking at is, what has changed since last season. It really becomes crunch time later on when you really compare teams and, see how things happen. But the first few games, you really look at what has changed. So we'll start with my favorite topic, as always, and that is, when will THW Kiel sack Philipp Piecha? Sorry, no. I mean, that's just memory there. But with the new season, with the new coach, THW Kiel have had the biggest change, I think, across all the teams. So the question is, what does the future look like for Kiel under Berger Lund? Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm pretty convinced that this will be a turning point for Kiel and that they finally arrived in the modern era of handball. When you look at who they brought in with Köster, with Makutz, also with Faust and Büchner on the wings, and especially Büchner as someone who is, maybe an underrated steel king over the last few years in the Bundesliga. It's pretty interesting what they've done and which variability they now have, especially in the backcourt. And I think it's the first time in my quote-unquote career as a journalist looking at a Kiel roster and saying that it's a nice mixture of guys who can shoot from distance, but also get into the one-on-one. And this is really what Kiel has lacked, in my eyes, for the last few years. So I'm pretty convinced that this will bring them back towards the top again. And even though it hurts the club massively financially that they won't play in Europe this year, I think it could benefit them in the long run in the season.
With something we talked about, I think with you, Bjorn, as well, when we had the news initially that Berger Lund was going to be coming in as coach, and with the changes that were coming, with a massive season for him with this team that is bringing in some big name players, the fact that there was no Europe to play with is in its own way a massive opportunity for the team, because they can focus purely on the Bundesliga. On that side, there's also no excuses, so to speak. But I wonder, Björn, if your view on how this team is set up and looking this season has changed a little bit since the news of Lund's arrival was first given.
Yeah, we see, of course, the match play that Berger Lund wants to see is completely different to what we had. So, and they had two players who on and off the court are really leading players. Julian Köster, Dom Makutz. And to be honest, when you play in the European League, the financial minus, of course, is there not to play it. But with all the trips you have to cities where you don't know how to reach them by airplane. So sometimes it's better not to travel from Tuesday to Thursday, but to have some more training sessions when you have this new constellation in your team. So you have a new coach, you have some new players, and they need to be integrated. So I think Julian Köster is someone who gets integrated in any team of the world in 3 training sessions, I would say. For Dom Makutz, it will be interesting to see. He didn't play that much in the Spanish league, but focused on Champions League. Now he has to focus on German league, which is in some parts tougher because even in Champions League you had some matches when you know you will win it, and in Bundesliga the old sentence is true. You can lose in Eisenach, you can lose in Balingen or Bietigheim. So this is the pro that it's good for Berger Lund to start like this, that he has more time to play with the players that he has now. The disadvantage could be that the squad is quite wide, so they lost more players than they signed, and the playing time is 50% only of what they usually play. When you see you have 18 matches in the European League or 16, and those are missing, and so all the players can only play Bundesliga and German Cup. So I don't think that there will be a kind of riot in the team who plays more or less. They all knew where they signed, but this could be a little trouble. But I'm sure that they know the constellation, how it is. They knew, okay, when Makutz signed, he could not think that he's not playing on international level, but still the same. I fully agree with Tim that this season will be a season where THW Kiel will really run for trophies.
What do you think would be the first thing, if you were in Berger Lund's shoes, Björn, what is the first thing you'd change going into the season?
It's like Tim said in the very beginning. So the style. So I don't need in modern handball. Of course, you need some shooters who can score from 12 meters, but you have to have speed. You have to come from the wings. You have to have this one against one actions, and especially Makutz is this player. Julian Köster, he can play so many different things. He's good in defense. He can be the playmaker. He can be the left back, and together with Makutz. And on the other side, it's still they have Reinkind when he's really fit then, and Madsen when they're back. So they can go through. So they have more opportunities to play a faster match play. And they know if they play faster, they have real good goalkeepers. So if you play faster, you don't get overrun that much by faster teams.
I do think an issue has been defense for Kiel for a little while. I think Julian Köster is a big solution for that. I think he plugs a big gap there. Pekler is going to be back. I think at least defensively, I don't know, if he's really up for a full season anymore on both sides of the court. Maybe I'm being too harsh on him, but that combination of Pekler and Köster in the middle looks pretty formidable. On the other side, they've lost Magnus Landin. Quite surprisingly, there's a few people that are pretty pissed off that happened. The biggest impact there that I see is that, he was a great antidote for the skipper Gotu. You having a winger who can play number 2, can play across the board, allows you to have a weaker defender in the court. That the skipper is that. I think Emil Madsen is also coming back, is great attacking, great for speed, but defensively they're going to have to figure that out a little bit as well. Both of those players can get better, but I think that will be a bit of a challenge for Kiel to balance going into the season. And I think That's the type of thing. I think they can get speed. Like all of these players in this squad have probably been raring to play a fast handball style for years. You know, they probably go to their national teams, run, and then came back to Kiel and walked around the place. So I'd say they're raring to go. Defensively, though, I think that's the make or break on titles, Champions League spot. You know, all of the big things.
Maybe one exception, Domagoj Duvniak. Maybe it can be a little bit too fast for him.
If we see him playing much attack this season, I think it's a sign that things are not going so well for them. You know, it has been the case, I think, for the last few years, and last season was needs must with Asha Pagotu's injury, who I don't think is actually that bad at defense. I think it's just because he's not a big boy, Asha Pagotu. There were times when he was only being played in defense by Yicha before he got into a bit of form early last season. We talk a lot about the weaker teams, and we're not really going to put Kiel in that category, but the beginning of the season and the first few games being so important to build up some confidence. They have the very first game of the season on Thursday evening against Lemgo, then Bietigheim away, Göppingen away, Hanover at home, Eisenach away, and then Flensburg is the first big game for them, I think, at home on the 26th of September. But, you know, 5 games leading into that where they could, you know, go on a run of victories, a little bit like what happened before Asha Pagotu got injured last season. And that could give them a lot of confidence under Bergelund, and I think they need that kind of confidence of a strong start.
Sure, it could help. It will help if it happens. And of course, when you look at the first few matches of the other teams, the big teams, Magdeburg playing Füchse, playing Gummersbach on the first 2 match days, Füchse against Melsungen and Magdeburg. So it could be a really interesting picture after maybe 4 or 5 match days where you look at the top, where maybe Kiel will be one of the few teams with only 1 or 2 points lost going into these matches. So I think entertaining-wise, the start of the season couldn't be more exciting, and I think hasn't been that exciting in years. So with so many top teams clashing so early, I don't know if I think it's the best, but it's exciting nevertheless.
We'll save the predictions, I think, for Kiel until the end. We'll see where you have them in your positions. But Tim, which team would you like to focus on next that has also gone through some changes over the summer?
Yeah, let's talk about Gummersbach. I think it's a squad where, of course, many people look at the loss of Kuzmanovic and Köster and say, well, what now? But honestly, I don't look at this squad thinking it's gotten much worse than last season. They've brought in Dushabayev, they've brought in Roganovic, they've brought in Halbeck in January, a bit earlier than already planned, and I think that has already paid off, integrating him in the last few months of the season, and especially Roganovic and Dushabayev together. It's really exciting to watch these guys. I think I've seen 5 matches in person in little sport halls in the last month, and both look incredible to me. I mean, we all know what Dushabayev can do, and I think if you look at him, you don't see a player who has his 34th birthday in December, I think. He looks fresh, fast. The fast play, the counterattack with him could be a real threat throughout the season, which they want to force even more. And yeah, Roganovic doing everything what he does at 20 years of age is incredible. So he can defend. They say he won't be the one-on-one exchange for Köster, but of course this comparison comes to mind with him being able to defend in the middle block on the left back position, having distance shooting, having the one-on-one, the physique. So I think they've brought interesting players in goal, of course. Bioska and Oberling, I think, is a very solid duo, but it's hard to replicate what Kuzmanovic has done, especially in the later part of last season again. But I think they can somehow improvise with their anyway really good defense with Kiesler, with Wiederson. I think it's possible that they can keep themselves in the top teams.
Just hearing Tim talk about Alex Dushabayev there, Alex Kulesh also with his 34th birthday recently passed him, looking fresh and fast as he did a triathlon over the weekend. So, there's hope yet, Alex. But,
I did a triathlon. That was fun. You go in one direction, but I wouldn't be joining the Bundesliga for the first time if that was my choice here. I think it's a brave move by Alex Dushabayev to, a player who has, he's had a great time in Vardar and in Kielce, like in weaker leagues, focusing on the Champions League, achieved incredible heights, both with those clubs and Spain. A player we, truly thought as like at times a top 3 player in the world, someone who, the clutch gene was there that we saw at that top. But to change to a week in, week out Bundesliga calendar at the age of 34 after a absolute kind of slew of injuries for the last 3 years. Really, he hasn't played a full season in quite a while since Spain kind of got their last bronze medal in a European Championship. And I think it's brave. It's great to hear that, Tim, that you in your eyes, in those small German halls, which I do love those games, where like the small German hall with the big club and the big players, it is
in the big heat.
It's very fun that he's looking fast. He's looking good. It would be amazing if he was able to put together a big season. And I think if he can get to like 80-90% of his peak with the squad that they have around him, because Gummersbach are, as you say, a great squad, they can do something special, like really take a step beyond the kind of dark horse moniker and into actual contender. It'll take a lot, but I think there's going to be a lot of tight games this season, and having Alex Dushabayev playing in tight games is an absolute pleasure and an absolute joy for the club. So it's very exciting. I just hope he doesn't break down within the first 2 minutes of the first game. Any thoughts on Gummersbach, Bjorn?
Yes.
Do you think they're also good? Are they a dark horse, or are they just a horse?
The most interesting point you forgot to mention, it's not the players. It's the extension of the coach today. Gudjon Valo Sigurdsson stays in Gummersbach. He was, I think, one of the hottest potatoes for all benches in all Europe. And he brought out Köster. He brought out Schlurov. He brought out Kiesler. He always has some good Icelandic players that come and stay. And now he's even an Icelandic team captain. So, in my opinion, the most important thing is that the club managed to extend the contract with Gogi, because he is the one. He brought them back from the second division. He brought them in the top 6 2 years ago, and he brought them now among the top 4. It will be, for me, it's something like when we also talk like Melsung or Bergische HC, the problem of Gummersbach could be the number of matches. The 3 years ago, they played a great season, qualified for the European League, and then with the big number of additional matches, they were running out of steam in the last weeks of Bundesliga. Then last season, without playing European League, they finished 4th and had a great run in the season. So their squad is not as wide as THW Kiel, and they have to play European League. But still, I'm absolutely sure, especially I'm really looking forward Nikola Ruganovic and how he brings in his skills. And I would say Alex Dushabayev, okay, he is 34 years old, and it will hard for him, but also his younger brother, Danny. They never played in Bundesliga before. They played in Spain, they played in Poland, they played in Macedonia. So, and playing Bundesliga with the defenders that you have to face every week is really tough. But I'm sure that he can imprint Gummersbach. And Gogi Sigurdsson did not sign, or the club did not sign Dushibayev just to sell more shirts with number, I don't know, 12, 13 or whatever, but to make the team better. And I'm quite sure that Alex Dushibayev, in a way, can make the team better. And to be honest, I still also, they were looking like brothers and were best friends, Köster and Schlurov. I expect Miro Schlurov to make a step ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great player to be able to have in the absence or the departure of Köster and Schlurov and Roganovic. I mean, there's been a really good kind of conveyor belt of Swedish players getting right into the thick of it in the Bundesliga. There seems to be, not this worry about whether they'll adapt to the league. So I think it should be quite fine for him. But what a welcome to the Bundesliga for Dushibayev, for this Gummersbach team. Magdeburg away, Leuven. Magdeburg at home, Leuven away, Melsungen at home, and then Berlin away in the opening 4 games. So we could be having a very different conversation in 3 weeks about this team. But I think, with Gogi there and making that contract extension, this is a team that is not making or not going to be panicking over whatever happens in the short term. There's a real long-term prospect, a long-term project feel about this club, which I'm quite excited by. Björn, it's your turn. Which team is on your radar for the start of this season?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. I wanted to go for Gummersbach, but no, I was at the Super Cup last weekend, and we have talked about the hunters. Now we can talk about the hunted. And when you saw how Magdeburg played last Saturday against Füchse, from the first to the last minute, and you saw this club has won every title except this German Super Cup. Usually say, okay, it's not that important, but Bennett Wiegert has never won. It's the only trophy Bennett Wiegert has never won as a coach of Magdeburg. German champion, cup winner, Champions League, European League, but never this Super Cup. So he won it as a player, but you saw it from the first minute how eager Magdeburg was to bring this trophy home to Magdeburg. And how strong they defended against Berlin. Maybe sometimes a little bit unfair against Matthias Gitzel, but to be honest, I talk now about Berlin and Magdeburg. Berlin gave the ball to Gitzel. It was like in old times, CSM Bucharest in women's handball, when nothing was working. So they all got the ball to Christina Neagu. Even if she was 20 meters away from the goal, she must shoot. And it looked like the same for Füchse, that they had no ideas. Magdeburg was defending really well. So I go for Magdeburg, and to be honest, when you saw this match, okay, it's only one match. And we talked about the start of the season. Magdeburg starts with Gummersbach and Füchse. So it's the same situation like the Füchse, Gummersbach or Melsungen. They have so many top duels right at the start. I would say that Kuzmanovic, together with Mandic, is better than the trio Mandic, Hernandez, and Portner before, because they played together since they're 16. They have a Croatian goalkeeper coach, so they know exactly what the other is doing, and they know when to
I think you're the first one to say that. I think you're the first German pundit who hasn't been trying to find a reason why that's a bad thing. So, yeah, interesting.
No, this is like, to be honest, nobody said it's a bad thing. Okay, you cannot compare Perez de Vargas and Wolf. They had not been playing since they used. No, I like this constellation. Then when Tim talked about underrated players, Magdeburg signed one who's completely underrated, Antonio Serradia, for the defense. He played in Magdeburg, now he played in Stuttgart, and he will be definitely have a huge impact in the defense, taking over the position from O'Sullivan. And I think that, to be honest, I cannot find a team at the moment which will finish on top of Bundesliga ahead of Magdeburg.
That seems to be the consensus, right? I think the bookies have Magdeburg as a favorite. I think every pundit has basically come out and said that, Magdeburg are the team to beat. They showed it against Füchse Berlin. We tried to be different for a moment in one of our previous podcasts, but immediately we're put into our place. So I don't know, Tim, the question to you is, what's more likely, that Magdeburg win their first 15 games or that they lose 3 games out of their first 15?
I think looking at them on last Saturday, it's more likely that they just go through. I mean, most of the pundits say it won't be as dominant as last season, but I think, at least on Saturday, they looked better than the previous half year. And the tempo in the offense, the flow was far better than in most of the games of the second part of last season, which was also a big talking point throughout the second phase of the season, where everyone said they have to somehow lose a game soon, but they never did until the cup semifinal, which they, of course, basically not lost because they lost on penalties. But
I know they definitely lost that game. Come on.
Fair. True.
Getting to a shootout in a semi-final like that against Bergische HC, I think was considered a disaster for them.
Yeah, true.
You're too nice, Tim. Too nice.
maybe. But I think Serradia is a great name to throw in, because I think he entered the court on Saturday after 45 minutes. Which also shows the strength in the squad, in the defense. He showed in Stuttgart what he could do in offense if Bennett Wiegert would let him play in offense. Basically the same as Jonsson, who also showed it in the past in Melsungen, but in Magdeburg he doesn't need to, or doesn't, he doesn't want to, I don't know. So that's really interesting. And I think, even though Bennett Wiegert always says, I want to maybe widen the guys who I'm putting out on the court in offense, I don't think it's happening. I think he has his rotation and it's working. And as long as it's working, why would you change it? And as long as players like Philipp Weber are okay with the situation and good for the team and the chemistry in the team, so why would something change? I also think no one will beat Magdeburg over 34 games. I don't know if it will be more dominant or less dominant than last year, but I think the first match of the season, is not really. There's not much hope for those who thought maybe this year would be a proper title fight again.
Oh dear.
They're going to be taken down. Nothing will happen.
It is one thing on the attack, because it's funny what you were saying there with Bennett Wiegert's point of view. His rotation is the rotation between Lagergren and Magnusson, but
yes.
There has been some chat about them trying a little bit of 7-on-6 and a little bit of 4 players in the backcourt in pre-season, maybe with an eye towards Jonsson getting a bit more court time. My feeling on that is maybe just more as a backup for when Plan A and Plan A.1, Plan A.2 doesn't quite work out for them. With Serradia, I remember 2 seasons ago, every time he had a chance, he would run up into the attack. And I wonder if part of the agreement to let him back into the club was that he won't go over the halfway line, that he just gets off. So we'll see. We'll see when he gets a bit more of a time on court to see what his transition is. But what is your take on that? Do you think we will see much of a variation then in the attack, or will it just be same old Magdeburg in that way, Björn.
So just to mention these four backcourt players. So usually, if you play with three, they need the space to do exactly what they want to do. So if you play with four backcourt players, the space is even more limited. So it gets smaller. The court gets smaller if you have four backcourt players, and gets smaller, especially for a player like Gisli Kristjansson or Albin Lagergren. So, and still, what you forget, if you have four backcourt players, you play without a line player, and you have Magnus Saugstrup, so one of the three best line players in the world. So I would say you can try it if nothing else works, but I'm not sure that especially this option with four backcourt players will be something that Bennett Wiegert will have as his plan 1A. It's 1D.
I'm interested. So this probably applies to Magdeburg and maybe a bit of Füchse Berlin. They play quite an annoying style. They get the penalties. It's one-on-one penalties. Especially Magdeburg have feasted on that for quite a while. And I don't know if you make parallels with other sports, like you can maybe make a parallel to Arsenal in football and their like corner kicks and everyone's complaining like, oh, they're cheating. The referees need to clamp down. In basketball, when a player gets a lot of free throws, James Harden back in the day or Shea Gilgeous, like everyone's complaining, hey, change the rules. These guys are cheating. I'm interested to hear in like German media or the German handball landscape, has there been any kind of calls for a change to rules or just like clamping down on this for Magdeburg? Does anyone care?
I would only say what the people are complaining, that it's become obvious and regular that Gisli Kristjansson makes 4 steps, and everybody said, yeah, but you cannot see the first one. So, and this was what Kriko was a little bit complaining. He was more or less complaining about his team. So, but
he created the 4 steps.
That's incredible. I love the audacity.
To begin with.
Yeah, but with these penalties, you saw it last season when exactly those penalties were the problem of Magdeburg. So when they go in getting for penalties, and when we're back at the semifinal of the German Cup, Magdeburg missed 8 penalties in this match. So sometimes for Magdeburg it was not good to get a penalty because they're looking at each other who tries it now. So, but in general, I know what you mean. It's very, if you have a Gitzel or Magnusson or Kristjansson, they run into the defense, they try to sneak through, and if they're stopped, then it's always a penalty. And this can help you, but it doesn't have to help you all the time.
And also, we mustn't forget that players like Kristjansson or Gitzel are also getting hit harder and more unfairly than other players. So I think it maybe balances out over a season. And I mean, the 4-step or even 5-step discussion is not only about these players, but of course, these players are so good that rival fans, and I think it's quite funny that especially these two clubs have one player who always gets some leg for that, being rivals over the last few years. I think it's quite nonsense. I think it's also hurting the sport. If you look at the highlights, not even only Bundesliga, but also Champions League, and the first 10 comments are, oh, steps. I think like the player is not in charge of calling steps, and it's hard for players maybe to change that if you have a rhythm on how you go into a one-on-one. So why blame the player? And also on the ref side, it's so fast and so so close between being a real 4th or 5th step, or maybe just about 3 steps. So I think, it's the nature of the game in today's game. Yeah,
it's interesting that handball hasn't, as a sport, really cared about, as in the governing bodies. They've allowed this to evolve. They even change rules to, facilitate it. So I don't know if if it will be a proper issue in the near future, but I do think it's starting to get annoying. And the comments, it's starting to be a big issue, but right now it doesn't seem like there is a focus on changing anything.
But what would be like a possible solution for that? I think the one solution I always I'm tempted to throw around is like a third referee who is basically only there for to count the steps. But I don't think that's really possible to do, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm just picturing, the famous scenes of Heiner Brand, going with the fist, but Bennett Wiegert actually throwing a punch at a referee at some point after Gisley gets called for traveling for the 12th time in one half. So we could try it.
But that's the thing, it's usually at the start of a season, referees in other sports get told, hey, this is what we're clamping down on. It might be the first 5 weeks or something that they call a few more of these. Then it goes away and maybe nothing changes, but there's some action being taken. Right now, handball doesn't seem to care about it. Chris, your turn to pick a team. Who are you interested in?
I have a team, and it's a team that over the last few seasons, definitely the last 2 seasons, we, I think collectively as a handball community have been like, this is the time. They're going to get back into the top 2. They might even win the Bundesliga, but I think we've kind of been burnt by them too many times now the last few years, and that excitement is kind of gone for this year. It's all about 2027, but we're going to talk about them anyway. Flensburg Handewitt. So where are they in your opinions, guys? Because it does really seem like with the Costa brother signings for 2027 that is a big focus for the club. But at the same time, they have Emerick Mean, who's just joined. Emil Bergholt has come in on the line, and this is Simon Putlick's last season. Will he be a part of it? Will he be sitting on the bench with a sulk on his face? Time will tell. But, they did beat Magdeburg in a pre-season friendly. So we've already had a loss this season for Magdeburg, technically. Where do you put them in all of this at the moment, Tim?
I mean, they also lost against Leipzig and conceded, I think, 44 goals, something like that. I don't trust their defense, and their defense was the big problem last season, and I think it's gotten even worse, at least for now, with losing Golla. Of course, Jürgensen, basically they lost him through injury earlier, but also Kevin Möller, who is not with the team anymore. Simon Möller is they brought him in, and like I thought he would be like a solid solution, but I've heard so many opinions in the last few days that his last few seasons in France weren't that great either. So many people are already writing him off. I'm a bit unsure about that, but I think it's not the biggest the biggest hope for Flensburg fans regarding the defensive problems. I think Blagotinšek in defense is always good to have. Arnason and Bergholt are also solid options, but they have to get together, build chemistry. They tried out Marko Grigic as well in the middle block in preseason, which is also a great idea, but maybe you hurt him in the offense because he has to shoulder much more load. So yeah, I don't really trust the defense, but if they score 40 goals every match, this could be the solution. I don't know.
And this is exactly what I'm sure of. So they will concede 38, but they will always score more than 40. So to be honest, talking about the defense, I will be interested about Bergholt, because what I heard from Denmark, he arrived in Flensburg and Wright is the team captain. So the trust in Bergholt is really high.
That doesn't make any sense to me. How does a player arrive during a summer and become a captain straight away. He doesn't even speak German. Like,
born leader.
Danish club. What are you talking about?
I know it's a Danish club, and they're all teammates in Denmark.
Oh, this also surprised me. But who would you have chosen? So you for one season, Pütlik, no. So Golla was the natural team captain. Buric, I don't know.
Emil
Blagotinček,
Jakobsen.
Emil Jakobs. Okay, Emil Jakobsen. Yes, Emil Jakobsen.
Is he a captain? Would I follow Emil? I would follow Emil Jakobsen to like a wine bar or a cafe. I don't think I'd follow him onto battle onto a court.
Okay, but Emil Jakobsen is also a good impression. So with a player like him, he scores 7 goals per match. So I'm not the same opinion as Gris has about Sputnik, because
I was
think
more of a question. I hope. I assume he's going to play. I don't think.
no.
I don't think he's going to be.
I'm sure he will be motivated by Emmerich Min, because a playmaker like Emmerich Min, with his dynamics and everything like this. So it will be interesting if it's not too fast for Emmerich Min, but to have him in the middle, and he has the ideas. He is also this go-to guy for the 1-against-1 action. So I'm sure that Emmerich Min is the top signing of Flensburg, not Emil Bergholt. Bergholt is important for the defense, and also you need a line player if you lose to. But Emmerich Min, he can imprint this team. And so I'm not sure if Flensburg is not finishing among the top 3 when we make early predictions, because it is the last season for Pütlik. It is the season before the Costas arrive. And next year at this time, I would say the same, like for Alex Dushebaev. They have played in the Portuguese league by now. German league is different. Of course, they're good players, but they have 27 Blagotinčeks against them. So it will be not that easy. And yes, and everybody talks about Magdeburg and Kiel getting the biggest hunters. So I'm sure that Flensburg and Kiel together will hunt Magdeburg.
My biggest question is actually, and this is a lead into the next team or my next team, is the impact of Johannes Golla. So I think Golla, there's been a lot of advanced stats that have been created in handball, all of these things, and Johannes Golla is always at the top. It's like we've got Giesel, we got Pütlik, and we've got Golla, like right up there. And you look at him and he is just like a monster. I think we were doing a Champions League commentating or something, came into the room, and I was looking up at him. He dominated the whole scene as I was commentating beside him. So he's a big enforcer. He's a leader. He's a captain, and I thought it was quite remarkable that he moved from Flensburg, a team that were like really ramping up into something special. I had lots of money, to Melsungen, who have been good, but are actually have more money. That's true. That's always the case. But Melsungen seems to be a team that's kind of transitioning to another phase. It's their last season with Perondo. They've reached a high level. They've reached the Champions League. They've achieved so much, and like they've made the step. And Golla is going over there to maybe bring them to the next level. But I don't know what impact he's going to have. And I think when we look at those two clubs, Melsungen and Flensburg, beside each other, the difference might be Johannes Golla. I want to see the impact that has on Flensburg in terms of negatively impacting, especially things like defense, heart, leadership, all of those things that I think is the current issues with Flensburg. It's not the beautiful talent on the court. It's the leadership. It's the, it's the fight. It's the grit. It's the personalities. It's the conflict. I'm not sure Aleš Pajovic is going to be a coach that sticks around for too long in this kind of sexy Flensburg era that they're trying to build. And losing Golla within that and all the turmoil that exists is going to be challenging. But for Melsungen, I think that's a big signing for him. Together with Gola, they also brought in Danny Dushabayev, which is interesting. I almost forgot that
He's alive.
he's alive or will be playing this season. They've kept all of their main players. Christopans is still there. Aaron Mensing is back from injury. Balenciaga is back. They've got everyone there, and the Boyce Simic is going to be back for a full season. And then you add like a real top player like Gola. So do you think Melsingen have a chance to kind of do something like special this season with the Champions League as well, Björn?
I would say exactly what you say. They want to do something special in Champions League because I think their focus is on Champions League. They never know if they make it again. To Champions League, they have this chance now to play, and they're playing in this crazy group with Vada, Plotzk, and Nantes, where all four can proceed. And I would say they put every power they have in these 6 group matches to go on to the next level, to the main round. And because if they want to play 100% in both competitions, you saw it last year at the second half of the season, they had the focus on European League because they had recognized that in Bundesliga they finished 7, so it's something between 8 and 5. And they made it to Hamburg, they beat Flensburg, they beat Kiel, they took the trophy, and this is the motivation now. We go to Champions League, and as you said, last season of Parondo as a coach, and we want to give some real nice gifts to Roberto on the way maybe to Cologne. I don't know.
So, from the sounds of it, they're going to get to the Final Four, but they're going to finish 8th in the league. Is that what you're saying?
Something like this.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can also, in the new Champions League system, you can also go to the Final Four in European League when you start in the Champions League.
That's true. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a wild ride. It's crazy that we're talking about Melsing like this, and they had Isias Guardiola playing for them for like half a season last year, and here they are going to reach the Final Four of the Champions League, according to Björn Pazen.
They hope to go to Cologne, maybe as visitors, maybe as players. We will see.
We are quickly running out of time here. So, Tim, do you have any words on Melsungen, and then there's a shake of the head, and then we'll try to tie this up neatly.
I can shortly say I don't think, I don't trust them enough because of their ongoing injury problems. Kastening is missing 1 or 2 months now. Enderleit, they still don't know when he will be back, so they only have Christopans at right back, so that's a problem. And Balenciaga also seems to have some problem again with his foot. So he seems to be missing at least the first few games. And I think we saw when he is not playing, it's a big quality drop-off in their play. And Gola and Luka Sigrist, also a name we have to mention from Switzerland, who is a playmaker who learned now under Andi Schmid in the national team as well. So I think we can expect big things from him. Maybe not this season, but in the coming years, definitely. But to be honest, I'm not the biggest Dani Dushabayev fan, so I don't think this will move the needle that much. So honestly, I think maybe 8th, 9th in the league could be the end for Mason this year. I'm not that high on them.
I like the thought of Dani Dushabayev and Christopans playing on the same backcourt with just the biggest malaise, the slowest trundling players still scoring though.
You mentioned there with the injuries at right back. I was then prompted to check because you said Guardiola played last season, yes, but just in case, he's also been registered as a player for the Champions League this season, as has Karsten Lichtlein. So they're covering their bases. Melsungen for this season's Champions League, registering both of them in the playing squad just in case. So I think it's predictions time. I want to hear your relegated teams and your top three, and whether or not they are in the top three, seeing as we didn't talk about them, where Füchse Berlin are going to finish as well, because that has been a lot of discussion for me and Alex over the preseason, but we haven't had time for it here.
Maybe before the predictions, I would raise one question and hope for good answers from your side. Will Füchse Berlin sign a replacement for Lasse Andersson or not?
How dare you say that, Björn? In the words of Bob Hanning, that is offensive. Mathis Langhoff is the man. So the answer, I believe,
For the
is no.
next 12 months,
For the next 12
Mathis
months.
Langhoff is the greatest player of all time until we replace him with a much better player and become a much better team. But Mathis Langhoff, he's the solution.
Is that a good enough answer for you?
Okay, question answered.
Mhm. What's your answer to that, Björn and Tim? Yes or no?
I don't know what happens in Hoy if they don't make it quite early to that they might go out of the race to come in the first division. Maybe there's an on loan base for Lasse Andersson or something like this. They were discussing now in Germany why Berlin did not sign Lenny Rubin, who went to Bern in Switzerland. So in this case, if we talk about Lenny Rubin, then I count on Mathis Langhoff.
Exactly. Yeah.
True. Yeah. At the moment, I think Krickhaus said he had like 15 or 20 names on his list that would be financially affordable for Berlin, but maybe it doesn't fit properly at the moment, and I don't quite understand what that means. So, yeah, I don't think it will be happening in the next few months, but maybe shortly after the World Championship, and then looking at where Berlin stands in the championship, it could happen like last minute.
We should not forget the nice earning Füchse will do at the Super Club in Egypt. So
maybe that's they can win that and sign a player.
Nice.
It is I think Kretschmar said it in one of his podcasts he does. I don't know. I can't keep track of all his media appearances, but he mentioned that that Berlin essentially threw away 2 title challenges with like top-down decisions. One, of course, is firing the manager and himself last season. That's that's pretty clear, the bias that Kretschmar has on that. But I agree, that a big change destabilized them and they weren't able to recover fully last season. And this season, not signing a replacement for Lasse Andersson being the top-down decision that stops them from achieving a title in March. And I think we all kind of agree with that, right? Like without an extra player in that backcourt, it's tough to see.
They currently only have 4, so they need some players. Some will come back from injury, but yeah, I think the Super Cup showed that very, very plainly. But yeah, Björn, relegation teams, a top 3.
You can choose 2 or 3 starting with B. Bergischer HC, Balingen or Bietigheim. I would say Bergischer HC will have a brilliant European League debut season, but the squad is too small to keep up in Bundesliga. So Bergischer HC is one of them. Sorry, Thorsten, their press attendant. I worked together with him at the World Championship in Cologne, and he will hate me for this. And the second, between Bietigheim and Balingen. So the funny thing is, Vladimir Tsupara, coming from Dinamo Bucharest, is now playing for Balingen. So I choose Bietigheim and Bergischer HC.
I think it will be 4 teams battling it out for the last 4 places. I've got Bergischer HC in 15th, Balingen 16th, Wetzlar 17th, and Bietigheim 18th. But I think it's really basically a coin flip for these 4. But I think as long as Sören Steinhaus is healthy, Bergischer HC will be in the league.
Okay. Top 3, Björn?
Magdeburg, Kiel, Flensburg.
Top to bottom. Yeah.
Magdeburg.
First, second, third. Okay.
Yeah.
For me, it's Magdeburg, Kiel, and Gummersbach.
Oh, Very nice. Alex, what are your thoughts there?
This is tough. Magdeburg, Kiel, and Füchse Berlin. We're still talking about Matthias Giesler here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Kiel. I gotta go Magdeburg, Flensburg, Berlin for me, the top three.
Oh.
But for Alex, maybe we can add for you a special question. Who will become top scorer of Bundesliga next season?
Well, the player who's going to score all the goals for Berlin, Matas Langhoff. Obviously.
350 goals.
The greatest left back and all the way. He's going to make us eat our words.
Field goals, no penalties.
Exactly. All right, Tim, Björn, pleasure to have you on together for this Bundesliga preview, and we'll see how the opening weeks turn out. But enjoy the rest of your summer, and chat to you both very soon.
Thanks, guys.
Ciao.
Thank you. Bye-bye.